Warning, we are about to spoil the series Bubblegum Crisis Tokyo 2040. If you haven't seen the show or plan on watching it, then click away now. Or if you've already seen it, or you just don't care, then please stick around.
Hey, Nene should be in the green suit, because then she could whip, and then she's Nene. I want to die.
That was beautiful. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Cinema Roulette. Today we are doing a series that I have seen and that Justin hasn't, and I found out about it. Actually, well, I'll tell the story a bit later after we introduce it, but I watched this show a while back, and I ended up really liking it. I'm like, you know what? That was a really good cyberpunk sci-fi show.
I really don't know how to interject here.
That's fair.
So
he's here. He's right there, ladies and gentlemen. Don't you worry.
I exist.
Sorry, I'm just thinking of Baldy's Basics where he answers the question. It's like, good job, you exist.
Thanks.
But yeah, this is a show that I consider to be a little underrated. Obviously, we haven't seen the whole show yet, but it has an interesting bit of history. This is called A Bubblegum Crisis Tokyo 2040. But yeah, so this series I actually found out about through Funimation's website a long time ago, because this was when I was a little newer to the anime scene, and I was going through their website looking at all, because they had a line, or I guess they still have a line, they just changed it to their Essentials line or whatever. But they had a lineup. It was called Anime Classics, and it's basically complete collections of DVDs or Blu-rays that are like full seasons or whatnot. And it was one of those banner ads that kept switching, and there was one called Bubblegum Crisis Tokyo 2040. And I thought, wow, that's kind of a silly name for it. And I actually kind of put off the series until I actually ended up seeing the trailer, I think on one of the DVD sets or online or something. And I was like, oh, that looks cool. And then the title came up, Bubblegum Crisis Tokyo 2040. I'm like, wait, that's Bubblegum Crisis? Why the fuck is it called Bubblegum Crisis?
Never judge by the title.
Yeah.
Because you'll just be surprised.
Yeah, exactly. So I ended up watching it, I think it was a few years ago, maybe 2 years ago, something like that. And I ended up really liking the show. And this is one that I put on the list just because, like, hey, it's an anime I like, and I think Justin might like it too. So...
Oh, I was wondering why you didn't just put an anime you hated on the wheel.
Yeah, right? I don't think I've come across an anime I fully hated. I really don't.
Do that. Humble yourself a bit.
But yeah, and the reason that I have to specify every single time Tokyo 2040 is because there were actually, back in the 80s, there was an OVA series produced just called Bubblegum Crisis. And the characters looked completely different. Like, this was like very much 80s anime. I think like one of them like Nene had pink hair or some shit like that. Like, it was very 80s.
She seems like the type of person that would have pink hair, though.
Yeah, and then before that, there was actually another series called AD Police, which is about, the titular AD Police in that universe. And I think they're both available on Blu-ray. I know at least the original Bubblegum Crisis is available on Blu-ray. 2040 is still DVD only. But yeah, So for Tokyo 2040, they like updated the designs a little bit, made the characters look a little more modern, a little less cartoony, but it still fucking works. So yeah, and that's a little bit of background on the series. So that's why we specify Tokyo 2040, because not to be confused with the original Bubblegum Crisis.
I'm here too.
Yes, he is. And since he's here, I will let him do the synopsis.
It's like, I haven't seen this show until, now I have seen half of it because we have to talk about it. It's the whole point of the podcast.
Yeah.
But it's like, well, what the fuck do I add? I had this cool way of finding it by... I was listening to this awesome podcast called Cinema Roulette, which can be found on Spotify or most podcast streaming services. and they had on this wheel. So I decided before the episode to watch half the show, and now I'm here listening to see what they thought about it.
I hope we get a testimonial like that. Like, man, I was never going to watch this, but then you guys said it was good, and I watched it, and wow, it was good. Thank you, Cinema Roulette.
I mean, technically, Jarek watched Hannibal because of our episodes.
Oh, did he? That's rad as fuck.
I'm not sure how far he is into it, but that is a story for a different time. A story about human.
That's a story for another day.
Okay, so the plot here is very winding, and I'm going to quickly summarize because of reasons.
Yeah.
What are those reasons? Shut up.
What are those reasons? Shut up. It's our podcast.
Exactly. Meet Lena. Lena is a... Fucking damn it.
You sound like that, really?
My brain was like, you have something here. Here's 50 words at once. Eat shit. Damn it.
Sorry, it just sounded like something like you would see on like The Bachelorette or something. It's like, here's Lena. She likes long walks in the rain.
Lena lived in rural Japan, moving to Tokyo because she got a new job in an office building. But that's not the real reason she was there. Turns out that we're in the future, and everything doesn't suck. Not too bad. There was a big earthquake, but we kind of fixed that.
Yeah.
We have robots now. Robots that are called boomers. There is an obvious joke here, and we'll probably make it later.
It makes for some pretty funny, unintentional hilarity knowing that, and then listening to them say, "Ah, yes, my boomers will take over the world."
Funny, unintentional hilarity.
Yes.
I want that on the box.
Bubblegum crisis. Funny, unintentional hilarity.
Yes. But there are boomers. They are basically just robots that they help rebuild the city, and they've been taking jobs type deal. And newer models are coming out that look more human. However, like most technology in sci-fi, they go rogue sometimes and try to kill people.
And like literally that's what they call them, rogue boomers.
Yep. It's not okay. It's not an okay boom.
No.
See, there's the obvious jokes. There is a police force for this, but, cops suck. So, there is an underground group called the Knight Sabers, and they have these, they're not mechs, they're just power armor, basically. They become Power Rangers. They're Power Rangers.
Basically, yeah. It's more power armor-y than, magical, like it is in Power Rangers, but...
Yeah. And we're going by Evangelion logic of these suits have a battery life. Well, instead of being mechs, they're suits, but the suits still have a battery life, so, there's that tension during fights.
Because in Evangelion, isn't it, literally a line that they have connected to the robots?
No, if you're connected to the line, you're fine, but once you're off it, you have, 3 minutes of battery.
That's right, that's
it. Lena wasn't just here for the job offer, she actually wants to join the Saber Knights.
The Saber Knights?
Knight Sabers. Sorry.
10 out of 10.
Brain did a flip-flop. It turns out, on her first day, she's almost hit by one of the members named Pris, who's part of who you feel should be part of a more screamy punk rock band, but is actually pretty laid-back type punk rock band. Yeah. And she literally just follows Pris as, I want to join. She's saved by the Knight Sabers because she goes on a date with her boss, and they're attacked, and all of a sudden, Pris, while in the armor, does a motion she did while on her motorcycle, and Lena's just like, oh!
And you can tell, it's funny because you can tell that Pris is having a fun time torturing her, because she does that motion just to tease her. When Lena comes up to her and says, "I want to join." What, the band? No, you know what I mean. What, a bike gang? No.
But she does eventually find their hideout, and the leader, whose name is Cilia, is just like, okay, fine, let's run you through a test. And even though Lena kind of does bad, she makes it through it, but they're still she's got a lot She's got spunk. Let's let her in.
And the reason, too, that she kind of fails during the first mission is because they find out that the suit was faulty. They didn't fully check it.
Oh, that's right. No, not that part. I'm talking about when it was the VR thing.
Oh,
and
the
they,
simulation
like,
thingy. Yeah.
Before they even give her suit.
That's right.
She does get her own suit, but it's an upgrade suit made by a guy named Nigel.
Thornberry!
Thank you
There's
for that.
a proper pause.
Thank you for that.
Nigel is the main mechanic. He helps keep the suits in check and also keeps fixing Pris's bike because somehow she keeps breaking shit on it.
Well, I think she just pushes it too much. She's like, yeah, I pushed the torque too far again. Can you, like, fix it?
Just get a new bike already. Jesus.
Well, either get a new bike or be a little more careful with your own bike.
No, she's Pris. She does what she wants.
Yeah, exactly. She's a rebel.
There's also Nene. Nene is her, when she's not being a super badass boomer fighter, she works on the police force, so she's kind of the intel and also a hacker.
Yeah, because she works in the dispatch center, dispatching policemen and taking some emergency calls.
Yeah. Also, we have two cops who constantly show up, named Leon and Wong, who they want to catch those damn knights, but are always just too late.
Yeah, it's that cliche, and I do like that cliche. It's a fun one.
Yeah, it's fun. And of course, the thing I love, and actually, no, we'll say this later. I'll keep the synopsis rolling.
Yeah.
Basically, they're fighting all these boomers that keep coming out of nowhere and going rogue. And they're not sure why, but it turns out, prepare for this one, there's an old man who sits in a dark room surrounded by screens who has some evil plan.
Yeah.
I know, you've never heard this before in an anime.
Gee, I wonder if he's the main villain.
Yeah, so Chessmaster Hex, I mean...
Yeah, basically.
I mean Ganondorf, I mean... I don't know, there's a list you could go through.
We should make a list like that just for fun. Villains who sit in dark shadow.
Okay, actually, just quick tangent. I was thinking, because for some reason, I like to think about, like, what would I do that's pointless if I was immortal?
Uh-huh.
And you know how I have the headshot list?
Yeah.
I would 100% make a checklist, and just every movie I sit through, see which movies have certain things.
Yeah. It's like you're immortal. You have time.
Yeah, every movie with a sunset. Check.
That would
every
be...
movie where someone is strangled. Check.
Yeah. Just like such a broad fucking term. That would be like thousands upon thousands of movies long.
But it would be logged.
Yeah.
It would make my brain feel good.
Well, it'd be there just for posterity. If people are wondering, hey, do you have you don't know, people might be looking, hey, what's every film like with a sunset from the 20s? Well, good sir, I have that right here for you.
Guess what, motherfucker?
Yeah.
Any movie with day for night. Anyway. But yeah, I have a list of all the villains who just sit in dark rooms for most of the series, speaking ominously.
Yes, speaking ominously and giving monologues.
Yeah, and fucking Mr. Final Fantasy over here, I don't even remember his name. Evil McEvilson. He is the one causing them to go rogue, even though he doesn't know. He and his workers don't know how to cause the robots to go rogue, so they just change out their fuel cores with an already broken one.
Are you talking about Mason or?
No, the old man. This was his plan.
Oh yeah, because they never really say his name, do they? I think Mason usually just refers to him as the old fool.
Well, no, they have said his name, but usually we're talking over it and making fun of.
Yeah,
it's a cliched villain.
And even then, we're still picking up on what he's hearing, and it still doesn't make a whole of a lot of sense. So
yeah, we'll get back to it, I guess. There's also Mason, who's another villain whose plans like to change every 2 episodes.
Well, because he's working for the main bad guy, but I think his thing all along was for the thing later. So
probably.
Mm-hmm.
And Mason is like double crossing the old man because he actually hates boomers, but the old man wants to use boomers for immortality, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
We'll get to it more, but Mason's the main villain. We get a lot of robot fighting and character growth. for a good bit. We do meet fuck on Celia's brother, who, even though she has a butler who seems to have stayed with her entire life, didn't know about the brother. And he's voiced by Shinji from Evangelion.
Yep. We did look it up. That it is, in fact, Shinji.
His name is Mankey.
Maki.
Mankey?
Maki.
Maki. Sorry. I wrote it as an N. Mankey.
Why the fuck did you put an N in there?
I wrote it quickly so it looked like an N.
Oh, okay, yeah. Maki.
Maki, who eventually has a fight with his sister and then goes and lives with Nigel to learn how to become a mechanic, and is slowly learning from Nene how to be a hacker.
Because it turns out he's actually really good with mechanical stuff.
It's really good. It's like almost this robotic instinct. Oh shit! Spoilers.
Oh wow! No. We already gave a spoiler warning. Fuck it.
It's true. He turns out to be a robot. The boomers start to get even more vile in a way, where they'll start fusing together, make bigger boomers. There are creatures that are coming out and eating boomers. There's even one creature that appears that even the bad guys didn't know about. They're like, oh fuck, how do we deal with this?
Yeah, right.
There was a subplot where Lena was going to date a guy, and I'm pretty sure if she does go back to that subplot, he is going to betray her in some way.
I don't think that subplot ever comes up again. That's why I kind of hated it. That's why we got to it. I'm like, I think I remember this, and I remember not liking this whole subplot because it felt kind of pointless.
And by the end of the first act, we are finding out that Mason is after Umbrella, which is a power source that will basically become the one true power source, and he'll be able to charge anything for it, and is also looking for a lab that Lena's father used to run, because it turns out Lena's father was this big scientist who helped make... What?
Celia's father, not Lena.
Celia, sorry. Damn it. Celia's father is a big scientist, and he even made most of the boomers. And his lab was so secretive that when something went wrong that Celia isn't able to tell us for some reason, they needed to cause an earthquake that leveled Tokyo.
And killed millions.
Reasonably, Nene is pissed about this. But the Pris and Lena stick around, because why not?
Pris and Lena stick around, but Pris is also really pissed about it. She's like, all those millions of people died at the push of a button.
Yeah, Pris does actually... That's the first time she gets pissed, because most of the time she's like the stoic badass type person.
Well, and she gets like 90s. Angry. She like sometimes like goes, or whatever, but she never actually full on yelled. So...
She never gets furious. Okay, what was Dragon? Do you have any idea?
What was what?
Dragon. When they say it's when the symbol showed up on the floor, the alchemist looking thing.
Okay, that was basically, I think how they explained it is like, there was a certain frequency that the lab was giving off, and that was like the remnants of the frequency or something, so that they could trace it. And,
right.
And Mason was tracing that signal, but he didn't take into account that the city, the whole fucking city was leveled and the underground shifted. So, but the guy knew where the underground shifted to, so they could find it before Mason.
Right.
So, and he said, yeah, Mason will find it eventually, but hey, we have this knowledge and we can basically find it first.
Yeah, because Celia goes and talks to someone who's like, I can't tell you exactly where the lab is, but I can give you all this math, which will basically give you a 3-mile radius of where the lab is.
Yeah, it's like, I can't tell you exactly, but I'm doing the math to basically tell you exactly where it is.
Yeah, so it ends with Lena and Pris going out to find the lab, whatever that is. Also, we find out that Maki is a robot.
Yeah, big surprise.
Or at least he's not human. I don't think they directly say he's a robot yet.
Yeah. They heavily implied it, though. Because they're like, this photo from 10 years ago, he looks exactly the same as he did now. And he apparently would have only been 8. What the fuck? Gross. Grody, yeah. But yeah, that was the first half of the series, and the reason we're doing it in half is just because, you know, a lot of plot stuff, and it's a good stopping point, you know, because it's a full 26 episode anime.
Yeah, this one actually has a plot, unlike Star.
Yeah.
And I think I'll say it in this episode, because I'll mention it again next time. This is our last TV episode for 2020.
Yep, that it is.
Or this will be our last TV series.
Mm-hmm.
Because we do not have enough time to get Star Season 2 watched by November. And it's just a lot.
It's because the last season, I know it's a little side tangent, but the last season of Star was 12 half-hour episodes, and the half-hour episodes were split into 2 halves. But this next one is literally double the length. It's 26 half-hour long episodes. Yeah. So... yeah.
So that's a lot, and December is going to be entirely movies, which we've said before.
Yep.
We have a top 10 list coming up in November, and a bonus review that we're still not 100% sure what it's going to be, but that will also be in November.
Yes, it will be.
Because October decided to have 5 Fridays instead of 4.
And we didn't account for that. Oopsies.
Which makes the 100th episode even closer.
Yep.
That doesn't fucking terrify me because I want to get something done.
Yeah, I think come this December, it will have been 3 years since we started this. I think Drive was uploaded like December 24th, 2017 or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah, so it'll have been 3 years this December.
Yeah, okay. Anyway,
yes.
that's a little update on what's going on with us. Back to the show.
Yeah.
Where do we start?
Should we get like the negative out of the way first or the positive?
Negative will be shorter than positive.
Yeah, I think so. So let's get that out of the way. Yeah, I think the biggest complaint I have thus far is that the villain's plan is just so, you know, vague.
Stupid.
It's vague. It's really like, because he deliberately, like, at least the main villain man in the evil chair in the shadows, at least he's just spouting all this like existential and philosophical bullshit and saying things that about boomers and shit, and it's just really hard to follow, and it just doesn't make a lot of sense.
Like, okay, first, it sounds like Ghost in the Shell, but if Ghost in the Shell was on its first draft and no one decided to rewrite it,
Yeah.
or they just didn't know how to talk about the topics at hand.
Like, there are some moments where it works, but yeah, sorry, go on.
And from what I gathered, he wants to make the boomers go rogue so that way they can get rid of the old models and bring in a new model that will also allow people, like, upload their brains, or he wants to upload his brain into the boomers so that way he can be immortal, technically.
Yeah, there's a couple different things he's saying, and we were like, okay, is that your plan? Is that your plan? Which one is your plan?
And the thing is, too, it's like, okay, if you wanted to bring in new boomers, and you're the company that owns the goddamn boomers,
Yeah.
why do you want them to go rogue and make people trust boomers less, thus wanting less of them, instead of just, you know, short-circuiting the battery, and then it's like, oh, you seem to need a new one. That's what Apple does. Just do that.
Just basically just like decommission the old robots and bring in the new ones. We were talking about this last time too, where, you know, it's not like Ghost in the Shell where it's literally people's brains inside of
Drink some water.
Okay. I know we were talking about this beforehand as well, but, like, you know, it's not like Ghost in the Shell where it's literally a human's brain inside of a cybernetic body. These are just robots. They're not really given much of a conscious. Like, there's some that are more human-like and some that can, you know, at least hold a conversation. But none of these are really, you know, you could never look at that and mistake it for a human, basically.
Yeah, there's no argument for sentience here.
Yeah. Which might actually make it interesting, but there is really not. It's really not there.
Yeah, which also I'm confused because in the intro, when they're doing like a big fight, because it's an anime intro, the robot looks like a person. It actually is It's all the boomers we've seen so far move like robots, but that one was a lot more fluid. And then We just haven't seen anything like that.
I think that might have been a case of we animated it like this before the series. So
yeah, we just did this to look cool.
Yeah, I think it was literally just that we did this either as like a test animation and then just left it in or something. But yeah. So yeah, it's just the villain's plan is just kind of very vague, and he just kind of pops up every once in a while to say, "Hey, I'm still here. Are you here, Mason?" "Yes, I'm here."
Are you still totally following my order? Mm-hmm.
Yep. It's basically how it goes, because he's obviously stabbing the old man in the back. But
Mason's also just really lame, and like, I guess his plan was to find the lab the entire time, but it's, I'm going to make it so all boomers die. Actually, I'm going to do this. Actually, no, I want to make an army of boomers. Actually, I want to befriend the Knights, so that way they can help with my plan.
Which plan is that, Mason? Shit, hold on, let me organize them.
Fuck, hold on, I had notes here. I had notes.
I mixed up my cue cards. Give me a second. Which evil plan was I going with? Oh, yeah, there it is.
There it is. Steal the moon.
God damn it.
The villains are the weakest part of the show,
yes,
honestly.
They are. Because there's a lot of moments where it's like, you know, Mason was looking for a lab all along. Okay, that's fine. If Mason was just the villain, that's fine. But then you have the old man in the evil chair. It's like, what is his fucking point? Like, he's the owner of the company and owns all the boomers, but like, we just kind of don't know. I don't know. It's just that, yeah, that is the weakest part of the show by far. But.
And another slight problem is just, there's a lot of cliche here.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of borrowing from Evangelion. Like, you can feel it for a lot of it.
I can look past the borrowing from Evangelion, and I can even look past some of the cliches. That's not a huge issue for me, but...
I can, too. Yeah. It's more of a bit... I guess it's more of a nitpick, but it's
just be warned, because there are some very heavy Evangelion influences here.
Like how, besides the suits having a power limit, they also go into like this tube and are launched up into the city.
Yeah, it's cool, really. Like it's its own spin on kind of the Evangelion thing, but yeah.
Also, I guess technically because the suits are tailor made for them, but they don't have spoiler things.
Yep. So yeah, that's a bit. But another kind of really weak plot point is Maki being a robot. They made that.
Oh, you mean that amazing twist?
The thing is, they made that way too obvious from the beginning. They should have been a little more cautious in introducing him, because I figured this out pretty early on too. I'm like, he's a robot, isn't he?
I figured it out just to be, as soon as it was like, oh, look, your butler, who seems to have been living with you for decades, doesn't know you had a brother?
Yeah.
Oddly sus.
And then in that same episode, he has a picture of him where his face is always conveniently covered.
It's making me wonder if he's, like, if he died from, like, getting shot through the head and that's why it's covered up, like, they still took the picture.
Yeah, that's why we joked about that. Like, it's just this really brutal headshot right as it happened, and, like, Celia is still smiling, but, like, he's just, like, shot through the head, his eyes are going which way, and, like, there's blood just spraying all over the place.
Yeah, like his head's whipped back. It's a Helsing level of blood everywhere.
Yeah, but no, it turns out he looks exactly the same as he did 10 years ago when he should have been 8, which, yeah, but it's really obvious that he's a robot. Like, come on.
I'm assuming the bandage on his head, if you remove it, you'll see, like, all the techno shit.
Yeah, that I do not remember, so.
Actually, Maki is the only robot who has enough sentience where it's like, okay, that's where the philosophical stuff could come in of, like, is Maki a person?
Yep.
Debatably, yes.
Exactly. Because that's the whole thing. Like, he is so far the only robot that actually, like, you know, it looks like a human, and B displays human-like intelligence and emotion and independence. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, even Mason's sex toy, because it's very obviously his sex toy in the show.
What makes you say that?
Yeah, him constantly kissing her and says that she takes care of his needs. But The fucking, like, she looks like a human and she talks, but the thing is, like, her responses are more robotic and Siri-like you said. And she has red eyes, so...
Hey, people can have red eyes.
I know, it's just, she has, like, pale white skin and red eyes. Like, what, she's supposed to be an albino robot? I don't know. Fucking hell. But yeah, so that's a little weak. I don't think there's anything else glaringly obvious that's weak. Right?
There's one more thing of, like, some filler. Just
there's
like the one episode where they get this cool motorcycle, but that's the only plot point you learn, really. Yeah.
Well, that and Pris and not Pris, Celia and Maki have a fight, and he goes to live with Nigel. That's the only other plot point. Like the interview, I did like in that.
Happens.
What?
And the rest of the episode, just nothing really happens.
It's just filler. Like the interviews with Pris and seeing her hand behind the scenes, that was kind of cool, but the rest of it was just really filler.
Yeah, there are just some things in this show where it's like, if you got to the point, we wouldn't need these cliffhangers every episode.
Yeah, and I hate the cliffhangers. Like, when the show actually starts getting good, that becomes a huge issue. Like, really. Like, the show is still really good, but, like, when it starts getting really tight, like, there's one arc I love later on, and just the cliffhangers are the fucking worst. But yeah, on to the positive, because there's a lot more of that.
I have a note.
Yeah?
From, I think it's from the old man, where he's like, why do people...
Say that one more time. You broke up super hard.
Why do people hate me?
Did he really say that?
It was either him or Mason. I forget who said it, but it was like, why do people hate me? I don't know. It's almost like you're releasing killer robots fucking everywhere.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I do have to say, first off, the animation is fucking gorgeous. Especially for a series that came out in 1998, it's a pretty high standard of animation.
Pretty top notch.
Like, there's a couple of jank moments, one at the beginning and one I noticed recently too, when like Lena's whispering to Pris on the motorbike. I noticed it was a little jank there, but other than that, like, it's just generally really solid and the action flows really well. And it's just that really beautiful style of 90s anime that I love. I love that style where it just kind of has a feel to it. Like,
audience in this audio podcast.
Because, I'm just saying, like, it has a feel to it. It has a distinct look and visual style because everything was either hand-drawn or matte paintings, which I love those, like, pan-ups and pan-downs of those matte paintings. It just feels real. It just feels there,
It's so obvious when there is a matte paint, but they're so gorgeous.
It's such a style to it that I just absolutely love. And just, that was something that I was kind of taken aback from. Because when I first watched it, I was like, oh, yeah, it was made in 98 or something. And I know Bebop obviously was fucking amazing, but I'm like, Trigun's a little jank and this might be a little jank, but no, the animation's fucking gorgeous throughout this one.
Yeah.
The music is pretty bitchin'.
I was gonna segue into talking about how good the fucking music is.
You can go right ahead.
Except for the one that sounds like the one Jackass theme song.
Yeah, I'm fine with that, but yeah, once you pointed that out, I was like, yeah, I can see that.
It's just distracting to me.
That's fair, because they do use it quite a bit. So it's like a techno doom, 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 doom.
And there's also the one that sounds like you're in a shop in RPG.
Which I love. I love that one.
I love it. It's funny to me, because that's exactly how it sounds.
Yeah. That sounds like you, like, walk into a mall in a Persona game or something, and that's, like, the music that would play. We've got it all at your Junez.
The theme is bitchin'. Pris's band has some pretty solid jams, guys.
Hell yeah, they do cut to her band jamming out quite a bit, and it's cool as hell.
Because somehow they make enough money to live off of, even though they only play at one place, it seems.
Yeah, it's always at that same club, isn't it?
I guess it is a constant gig, so that's pretty good for a band.
Because J.J. Vickers, my musician friend, he does have some regular places that he attends to. Like, he does obviously play different venues, but there's some ones around here that he does regularly attend. Like, one is Jupiter Studios in Alliance. The other is George's Lounge in downtown Canton. He plays those quite a bit. Passion Blues in Canton. Excuse me, now I have the hiccups. Great.
Shameless plugging.
Yep. But yeah, those are kind of some regular areas. So it might just be cutting her when she plays that venue. Who knows?
I think they said they had a deal with the place too.
Yes, so that would make sense. So she probably plays there like set days of the week.
Sorry, I was just thinking about how there is one nitpicky thing I forgot to mention. How when they're fighting, they don't use code names. So in front of the cops, they're shouting their actual names. They're like, Lena, Pris, Nene. And the cops just don't fucking hear it or don't notice.
And there was one point, too, where Celia even said, guys, be quiet. The cops can hear you. She points that out, but they still keep using their actual names.
It's like you couldn't think of anything for names.
Like, you could just go really basic. Red, green, and blue. There you go. Just go basic. Color of the suits.
Also, Celia sometimes fights in a white suit?
Yeah, it's a white suit.
Yeah. And she has a sword.
Yes, it's pretty rad. Because she has a sword. Lena has whips. Nene has like these needle things she shoots.
That never do anything.
Yeah. Or Nene. Nene has those. I forget what Pris has. Does Pris have anything? Or is
Pris has like something in her fist to punch even harder.
Okay, so she has like basically not one punch man, but like mega fists basically.
She has like exploding fists.
Yeah, there you go. So yeah, that's cool. Characters are all very, very well done.
I fucking love Lena in the first episode because you think she's gonna be this normal sort of fish out of water country girl thing. Then Pris almost hits her with her bike, and Lena is able to run at the same speed as the motorcycle in heels, catch up to it, and almost throw her heel hard enough to catch up with Pris and hit her.
She like takes a shortcut and like slides down a pipe at one point because it's like, she starts out, you think it's gonna be that normal story, but turns out she can be a pretty big hothead sometimes and gives into anger a bit.
Yeah, she doesn't even have the power armor yet. She's able to bolt faster than a motorcycle.
Basically it happens and she's just like, oh no, you didn't, and just runs the fuck after her. I love that moment.
You knocked over my lunch. Now you're gonna pay.
Yeah, pretty much. That's basically it. It's over lunch.
Pris is the usual badass stoic chick.
And Nene is the comic relief, but I love her. She's great and hilarious and adorable.
If her voice was slightly higher, it would be way too grating in my opinion, but it's just high enough not to be annoying.
I forget who voices her because I've heard I know her as well from Full Metal Panic. She also voices the I think the main captain person in Full Metal Panic. I forget her name, but I forget the actress's name. But yeah, she kind of has that naturally childlike voice, which is why she's given roles of younger females a lot. So
she isn't young; she's an adult.
Yes, that's Miss Nene to you.
Miss Nene.
So they're all well done. The voice actors all do a fantastic job, especially by 90s anime standards.
Well, by the 90s, we were doing pretty good with dubbing.
Because Evangelion was kind of the one that kind of knocked it like, oh yeah, this is the standard we're going to set now.
This is the standard we're going to set. And then Cowboy Bebop happened. There was
a what?
There was a Cowboy Bebop with the first-time director. They were like, oh, what if I just made the most perfect dub ever?
Yep.
And they did.
Thanks, Mary, you beautiful, beautiful woman, you.
I wish I got her to sign my copy of Bebop.
But we're talking about Mary Elizabeth McGlynn, to you audience members out there, also known as the voice of the Major in Ghost in the Shell.
And she was, actually, no way, I can't say that. That's a spoiler.
Nah, okay.
But she is married to Steve Blum, or they're getting married.
Yeah, I think they're engaged or something like that. So that's really
she's getting married to Steve Blum, who voices Spike Spiegel in Cowboy Bebop. So
yeah, because I always loved them both as voice actors. I've heard them around, and because Mary and Steve both have such a distinct fucking voice. Like I hear their voice, I'm like, oh, that's Mary, that's Steve, awesome. So it's just really cool and wholesome.
Well, Steve is noticeable until he uses his range, and then he's he's
Yeah.
impossible.
Oh, that's just it. He's great at his job, and oh man, because it's like I didn't even know he was the one guy from Gurren Lagann. I had no idea. I'm like, wait, that was Steve Blum.
Yeah, he played the very feminine boy.
Yeah, so that's awesome.
We're supposed to be focusing on different anime, though.
Yeah. So the dub is really solid. Like you said, by this point we were starting to get like really solid dubs, but yeah, so that's all really well done. But there is a couple of funny moments where like some of the side characters are noticeably non-actors.
Yeah, or the characters seem to just have done one take of the line and that was it.
Yeah, there's a couple of that. Thankfully, that's not as noticeable, but there's like one or two moments where, want to do a read again of that?
Get out of there.
Oh, no.
Great work, Nene. Would you like to say that again, but actually sound like you care?
Yeah, because there's a moment where like Nene's doing some research and she's like, oh my god, no way, or something like that.
Oh, yeah, when she's finding out about...
Cilia.
Yeah, Cilia's family and Maki.
Yeah. The Stingray. So, yeah, their name is Cilia Stingray and Maki Stingray.
Man, that really stings.
You get no laughter, sorry.
Rude.
But, yeah, so that's all really well done. And oh, yes, we have to talk about the monster designs.
Oh, yeah, that's what we're going to do next, because the monsters are fucking cool.
Yeah, that was something that I loved about this show, is that, like, the monster designs were really fucked up, but really rad as hell. The rogue boomer designs, because not only are they, like, evil robots, they, like, kind of, like, it's almost like a Resident Evil-ass transformation, where, like, start growing, and, like, you can actually, like, see a lot of times, like, veins popping out of their arms and their necks or shit. It's really fucking weird.
Yeah, it's gross as hell, and they get bigger and freakier as time goes on. Like, I think the last one we saw is the one that had the, like, snake neck to it, and the movement was so unnatural.
I hated that. Yeah, that was one of the scariest moments of the show, because I had forgotten about that. But once it did the little, like, head zooming thing, I was like, oh my god, I hate it.
Stop moving. Stop that.
It doesn't help that it's literally the size of a building, but, like, she does something, tears out the heart, and it doesn't die. But it's just, you see it in the distance, but then its head just really fastly, like, zooms and twirls in, like, extends. I'm like, it's so weird.
Yeah, they're really good at capturing this monstrous, inhuman movement for the robots, and it adds so much to them.
Yes.
Also, when we see, because the only way to kill them is to find their heart, basically, and crush it.
Yeah, it's pretty metal.
It is. So it's like all this fleshy muscle beneath their skin, even though they're robots. But
yeah, it's
just vile. And it's so cool.
It is. It's really vile, and just some rad as hell monster designs. And we get some really clever and very scary abominations out of it. Like, I hated the one too where it was like the human skin, but like half the face was the human one, and like this big gorge of machinery out of the other one.
Oh yeah. Where it's basically the final boss of RE2 except robo parts.
Yeah, exactly. It's William Birkin, but robot parts basically.
Which also, I love that the military and police are like, we're gonna shoot this with a normal gun. Bang.
Yeah, only when they find the one that's like the size of a 2-story building, that's when they decide to fire like grenade launchers and anti-tank rifles at it.
Yeah. Oh fuck, what was the joke I made? Oh, because they get an anti-tank rifle. Technically, it's a boomer shooter.
There it is. Hey. Yeah, and then there's all, of course, the police stuff between Leon and Wong, which is very, very, very cliched, but also very funny, because their dynamic is kind of hilarious.
Also, slightly homoerotic. Yeah. Wong is very protective of Leon.
He is, because, yeah, Leon's, of course, like the big meathead, the big burly, I'm the cop and I'm going to do this, and I get out and I say, damn, all the time. And Wong's very much the stereotypical, like, nerdy, like, oh, yes, hello.
Yeah, Leon is a very edgy boy at the beginning.
I still love that one fucking scene where like he's yelling at his boss because he wants to do a thing. I'm like, oh, here's this cliche.
Oh yeah, it was almost every "you're off the case" type speech.
Yeah. He basically did everything except hand in his badge. So
yeah. That's for later.
Yeah, exactly. I forget if that actually happens, but that would be hilarious. So, yeah, and just the story when it's not focusing on the villain shit is also really well done. I like some of the mystery and just them like, what am I trying to say?
I don't know,
man.
Just them fighting the monsters?
It's cool, just the progression of how they get weirder and weirder, and we find out more and more about like Celia's past and the other characters and stuff too. It's well done. So I just wish the villains were better because it's so weak.
Yeah, if they just had a better reason for things, just nothing about it makes sense.
No. It's definitely the weakest part of the show, and it's something that I think even on my first viewing, I just kind of ignored. I'm like, okay, it's just going to be a Final Fantasy villain where I can just ignore half the stuff he says.
I'm evil, yep, and skip.
Yep, exactly. But yeah, is there anything else we have to say about that, or?
No, I'm pretty good on the show.
Yeah, overall, very solid. So, like I said, yeah. So the first half is still really fucking good. We can't really give a rating yet because, like we said, it's only half the show. So
3 out of 10, easy.
Ouch, that hurts. But
just be mean.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely stay tuned for part 2, and it's awkward because we can't segue into a spinning wheel because we don't have a wheel to spin.
Yeah, we don't have a wheel to spin, and we won't have a wheel to spin next episode here, because then it will be Star Season 2, which you won't hear about until next year.
Yippers. So, yeah. I'm really bad at anything, so bye.
Okay, boomer. Whatever you say, boomer. Okay, boomer. Whatever you say, boomer. Okay, boomer. Whatever you say, boomer. Okay, boomer. Okie dokie, boomer.